Hello there, you're watching Nightline. I'm Anita Wu. News making the headlines. Malaysia to impose cash transaction limit of 25,000 ringgit next year. And Kuala Lumpur says no to US idea of hosting APEC summit next year. Our opening story. Malaysia is planning to impose a cash transaction limit, CTL, of 25,000 ringgit starting next year to further strengthen the country's financial integrity. Bank Negara Malaysia Deputy Governor Datuk Rashid Ghaffur said this is to address the abuse of physical cash used for illicit activities. However, industries with large cash transactions, such as high-value dealers, medical tourism, hotels and wholesale, are exempted from the CTL. This exemption is to balance the genuine needs of industries with a large cash transaction. The move would not affect households, as engagement with over 1,000 individuals across the country revealed that large single cash transactions on average were 2,284 ringgit to 7,843 ringgit. In January, BNM has lowered the daily cash threshold report CTR from 50,000 ringgit to 25,000 ringgit. Up to September 2019, over 5 million CTR reports were received, representing about 483 billion ringgit in cash transactions. Meanwhile, Royal Malaysia Police welcomed the Bank Negara's decision to impose the cash transaction limit.
Kita amat mengalu-alukan apa saja pendekatan, khususnya daripada Bank Negara. Ini satu usaha yang baiklah bagi kita dan senang untuk kita menyiasat. Andai kata sudah ada tarif tertentu tu kan, so easier for us.
Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad on Thursday stressed that he will not entertain calls to sack Attorney General Tommy Thomas. The Prime Minister said unless, quote-unquote, something very serious had been committed by an individual, he would not simply fire anyone.
Ya, saya bukan dalam kerja pecat orang. Sometimes people make mistakes. Also, I would like to pecat some of the opposition members because they make a lot of mistakes. But we know we have the rule of law, we obey the rule of law. Unless something very, very serious happens, I don't pecat people. Even though people ask me to pecat this and pecat that.
He was speaking to the media after chairing a meeting of the National Committee on Government Election Pledges in Putrajaya. Opposition MPs had earlier asked Tun Dr. Mahathir to advise the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to dismiss the AG following a spate of alleged interventions in court decisions. The latest incident, which the opposition cried foul, was on the court's decision to drop 2 terrorism-related charges against Seremban Jaya Assemblyman B. Gunasekaran over alleged links to the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, LTTE. Earlier at a separate function, Tun Dr. Mahathir said the government is working hard to get information on Joe Teck Low, believed to be involved in the 1MDB financial fraud scandal. He, however, said the country must accept that it lacks strength against certain countries that are harbouring the fugitive businessmen.
We can go to war, but we will lose the war, and we will lose Joe Low. We are conscious that we are not a very strong nation. Sometimes people are nice to us, sometimes they are not. We have to accept. I am told that he may carry several passports. I am also told that he may have undergone some alteration to his face and all that. All these things are rumors. I have no proof, but it could happen, and that makes it difficult for us to trace him. Okay?
He spoke to the media after attending the 15th convocation of the National Academy of Arts, Culture and Heritage, or Aswara, in Kuala Lumpur. Tun Dr. Mahathir also said he is unaware if the wanted man is hiding in the east or the west, saying the Inspector General of Police, Tan Sri Abdul Hamid Bado, only updates him as and when needed instead of giving him constant reports. In recent days, it was reported that Jho Low had secured a Cyprus citizenship. It was also claimed he was hiding in the United Arab Emirates, but police have dismissed the speculations. The Prime Minister also said that the creative content industry, such as film, drama and animation, can be a profitable export if the product is of quality. He said a few developed nations have provided support for the arts, either through training or incentives in their community, as it was important for nation building.
Industri kreatif merupakan sektor yang sedang berkembang maju di Malaysia. Sehingga 31 Mac 2019, terdapat 345 syarikat berstatus MSC Malaysia di bawah kluster kandungan kreatif dan teknologi daripada jumlah keseluruhan 2,986 syarikat berstatus MSC Malaysia yang aktif.
He added that companies with MSC Malaysia status under the cluster have registered a sales of 7.69 billion ringgit, with exports worth 1.4 billion ringgit, and provided for 11,400 plus jobs since 2018. Malaysia has rejected the United States' suggestion for the latter to host the APEC summit on American soil next year. Foreign Minister Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah said US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo approached him when they were in Bangkok for the 35th ASEAN Summit and related summits.
What I know is that Secretary Pompeo made a call to me while we were in Bangkok, asking for Malaysia's position because Chile is not able to host APEC this November, and that US is thinking of hosting APEC somewhere in January in the US, but I have informed the American officials while they were in Bangkok that we don't think it is a good idea.
Datuk Saifuddin said he's unsure whether the APEC summit is the same as the one mooted by US President Donald Trump, who had invited ASEAN leaders for a special summit hosted by the US in the first quarter of 2020. The special summit was mooted after Chile called off the APEC summit in Santiago, scheduled to be held from November 16th to the 17th due to anti-government protests. Chilean President Sebastián Piñera was reported as saying it was a difficult decision but had to be made based on the principle of common sense. Malaysia will host the 2020 APEC summit next year with the theme Shared Prosperity. APEC member economies comprise Australia, Canada, Chile, China, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Peru, the Philippines, Russia, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand and Vietnam. Mu Sochua, the vice president of the banned opposition Cambodia National Rescue Party, CNRP, who was detained by the Immigration Department, is now permitted to enter Malaysia. Immigration Department Director General Datuk Khairul Zaimi Daud confirmed this, although he declined to share more details, such as why she was detained by the authorities. Earlier, it was reported that 4 sources with direct knowledge of the matter told Reuters that the Immigration Department had detained Mu Sochua. The sources, one of whom is with the Malaysian government, declined to be named. Foreign Affairs Minister Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah meanwhile said that the government has yet to decide on the request from its Cambodian counterpart to deport several of its citizens, including Mu Sochua. Speaking to reporters in Parliament on Thursday, Datuk Saifuddin said Malaysia had received a request from Cambodia to deport them. But as far as Wisma Putra is concerned, they are in no position to deport people, and neither do they like doing it.
Well, I think the authorities, as far as I know, they simply want to interview her. I think they probably want to know what is her intention of coming, but as far as Wisma Putra is concerned, we we are not in the position to deport people, and neither do we like doing that. We make our own decision, not because of any requests or any kind of interference from foreign countries.
The detention came as Sam Rainsy, the founder of the opposition party, prepared to fly from Paris to Bangkok, vowing to return to Cambodia on Saturday to lead demonstrations against the one-party rule of Prime Minister Hun Sen. So Chua is one of the several opposition leaders who fled from Cambodia, fearing arrest, and are now seeking to return with Rainsy to rally support for their cause. Meanwhile, the government is trying to find a country that is willing to take in the self-exiled Cambodian opposition leader, Mu So Chua. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said this as the Malaysian government does not want to be at odds with any other government on matters that is not Malaysia's affair.
If we wanted to deport her, people asked her to come back here. Now we are trying to find any country that can take her. We don't want to be at odds with other governments because this is not our affair, it's their affair.
He said this to the media after chairing a meeting of the National Committee on Government Election Pledges. On to Datuk Seri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak's 1MDB trial. The High Court was told that One Malaysia Development Berhad had transferred money into the account of Goodstar Limited, which belongs to fugitive financier Low Tech Joe, also known as Joe Low, when the money was intended for Petro Saudi International Limited, PSI. Former 1MDB CEO Datuk Syahrul Azwar Ibrahim Halmi said the amount was transferred to an account in year 2011. Datuk Syahrul, when questioned during cross-examination on Thursday, said the bank had queried 1MDB as the account number in the transaction did not match the name of the beneficiary on paper, which was PSI. He said the bank account number, which turned out to be Goodstar's, was provided by PSI's CEO, Tariq Obaid. Goodstar was initially represented as a PSI subsidiary, but was later revealed to be owned by Joe Low. Lead counsel Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdullah then said this was the second time the mistake happened, where the first was in 2009 when 1MDB transferred $700 million to the same account belonging to Goodstar. Meanwhile, Datuk Syahrul testified that he had confronted Joe Low over the ownership of Goodstar Limited after looking at a series of articles on the 1MDB scandal. He said Joe Low insisted that the Goodstar is owned by PSI. The court had previously heard testimony that Goodstar was initially represented as a PSI subsidiary, but documents tendered in court had shown that Joe Low was its sole beneficiary owner. The hearing before Justice Colin Lawrence Sakira resumes next Monday. Youth and Sports Minister Syed Saddiq Syed Abdul Rahman believes that Mat Lajak, who are considered a menace, have the potential to be cycling champions. As such, the ministry is planning to train them at the National Youth Skills Institute, or IKBN, to tap into their talents.
We've already run many different cycling workshops with the Bicycle Lajak group. For example, because again, if you just build a circuit without getting the actual expertise to train them, it becomes an issue, because if you look at how they modify their bikes, a lot are very much unsafe because they have no brakes and usually they don't wear any safety equipment. And then at the same time, the circuit in which they use, again...
Syed Saddiq said his ministry will get input from various stakeholders and communities to ensure the Mat Lajak's passion be put in the right place. He was responding to calls for new laws to act against workshops or individuals providing modifications to transform bicycles into Basikal Lajak or mosquito bicycles. Plus, Malaysia Berhad has been told to rethink the decision to stop the touch-and-go reload facility at all its toll exit plazas. Economic Affairs Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Azmin Ali urged Plus to take into account the views of users who disagreed with the move.
Ya, saya kira pandangan daripada pengguna itu penting diberikan perhatian kerana kemudahan-kemudahan yang disiapkan itu adalah untuk memberikan keselesaan kepada pengguna lebuh raya. keputusan untuk menutup lorong tambah nilai itu mungkin keputusan yang diambil oleh pengurusan, dan saya berharap pengurusan dapat meneliti semula keputusan tersebut dengan mengambil kira pandangan daripada pengguna lebuh raya, dan mereka harus menyediakan pilihan bagi kemudahan pengguna lebuh raya.
Plus had announced that it had closed the reload facility for touch and go at the Toll Plaza exit lanes starting yesterday. This was done to reduce traffic congestion caused by those reloading their cards. The government has yet to decide on the abolition of the Official Secrets Act 1972. Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Muhammad Hanifah Maidin, said the government was still considering whether to abolish the law, improve it or to retain it, together with the proposed Freedom of Information Act.
Dalam konteks ini, beberapa sesi perbincangan telah diadakan melibatkan kementerian, jabatan agensi seperti Pejabat Ketua Pegawai Keselamatan Kerajaan dan Kementerian Komunikasi dan Multimedia Malaysia, Pejabat Penasihat Undang-Undang Negeri Pulau Pinang, Pejabat Penasihat Undang-Undang Selangor dan Unit Pemodenan Tadbiran dan Perancangan Pengurusan Malaysia atau MAMPU bagi membincangkan hala tuju dan konsep berkaitan Undang-Undang Kebebasan Maklumat selain meneliti keperluan sama ada untuk memansuhkan sama sekali ataupun menambah baikkan peruntukan di dalam Akta Rajah Rasmi ataupun Akta 88.
He said this in reply to a supplementary question from Pengerang MP Datuk Seri Azalina Othman Said on the status of the Official Secrets Act 1972 and the Freedom of Information Act. Hanifah said he had no problems with the Official Secrets Act 1972, but the previous government had misused it. On July 18th, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said the Freedom of Information Act would be drawn up to replace the Official Secrets Act 1972, and a Cabinet Special Committee on Anti-Corruption had agreed in principle that sufficient time must be given to the process of drawing up the law. Next, after the break, 7 nabbed, 17 kilograms of drugs seized in major drug bust. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Nightline. A total of 398 former Utusan Melayu Malaysia Berhad employees have filed for claims under the Employees Insurance System, or EIS, under the Social Security Organisation SOCSO. The number is almost half of the 815 Utusan Group employees whose services were officially terminated on October 31st and qualify for 5 months' allowance under the Job Seekers Allowance, or EMP. SOCSO EIS Chief Datuk Muhammad Saha Darussaman said 27 early applications have already met the necessary requirements for claims. He also urged the remaining 417 ex-Utusan staff to come forward to make their EIS claims as soon as possible so aid can be channeled quickly. He said apart from assisting with the EIS application process, SOCSO also offers training programs, including industrial training as well as job placements. When asked on the new wages offered being lower than the previous pay and not meeting the applicants' monthly requirements, Datuk Saha stressed that SOCSO will do its best to help applicants secure jobs which match their skills and expertise. A total of 33,906 people who are insured lost their jobs in various sectors since early this year, with about 56% of the loss of employment taking place in Selangor and Kuala Lumpur. This is expected to increase to 37,600 people by the end of December. Police believe they have crippled a drug trafficking syndicate with the arrest of 7 individuals, including the kingpin in 3 raids in Klang, Selangor on Monday. The authorities also seized 17.32 kilograms of drugs worth 1.76 million ringgit.
Kalau kita tengok kepada jumlah rampasan, bermakna penggunaan, kita telah menyelamatkan penggunaan sebanyak 10,400 orang pengguna untuk satu hari. Maknanya kalau syabu ni digunakan untuk dalam tempoh satu hari, 10,400 orang pengguna. Manakala pay ekstasi PXRC dengan jumlah 30,000. Kebiasaannya kalau orang boleh guna PXRC dia sebiji satu hari. So mana 30,000 orang.
Investigations showed the syndicate had been active since earlier this year, getting drugs from another distribution syndicate in the Klang Valley to sell at nightclubs. Police are hunting for the rest of the syndicate members as well as the group which was supplying the drugs to the syndicate. All the suspects aged between 24 and 50 have been remanded until Monday. The reported radioactive leak at Post Aviation Terminal of the KLIA cargo village has turned out to be a scare. The Selangor Fire and Rescue Department explained that an investigation confirmed that there was no leak as feared. It said checks jointly conducted by the department and the Atomic Agency Licensing Board found that wetness was detected at the bottom of a box containing iridium-192 metal solid, but there was no leakage. The department received an emergency call at 10:42 a.m. and sent 2 fire engines from the KLIA Fire and Rescue Station together with a Hazardous Materials Management Unit team to the location. Coming up after the break, scores more migrants found alive in a UK truck. Stay tuned. We move on to the foreign front. In the United Kingdom, an Irishman in his 50s has been arrested after 15 people were found in the back of a lorry in Wiltshire following reports of suspicious activity involving the vehicle. Wiltshire police said they closed a road near Chippenham after being called by a member of the public shortly before 8:30 p.m. Wednesday. All of the people who were discovered in the lorry are believed to be between the ages of 16 and 30, and none are thought to be in serious condition. One person has been taken to hospital for further checks, whereas others have been taken into custody and have been charged with attempting to enter the UK illegally. Police said they had not determined their nationalities. The Irishman, meanwhile, was arrested on suspicion of assisting illegal entry. He remains in custody for further questioning. Now, China has established 2 offices to develop 6G, kicking off the competition for the next generation cellular data service that comes after the super-fast 5G. The Ministry of Science and Technology said one of the offices consists of government agencies responsible for the relevant policy making. The other, meanwhile, is comprised of 37 experts from colleges, research academies and enterprises who are expected to advise policymakers. While addressing a gathering on Sunday, Vice Minister of Science and Technology Wang Xi said worldwide knowledge about the technology is still in an exploratory stage without consensus over its definitions and applications. He said the ministry will work with relevant departments to roll out a plan for 6G development and walk towards breakthroughs regarding its basic theories, key technologies and standards. Still to come on Nightline, Agong bestowed prestigious AFC Diamond of Asia Award. The details right after this breather. We're back with sports news now. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has been awarded the prestigious AFC Diamond of Asia in recognition of his contributions spanning more than 3 decades to the game in the continent. The Asian football's highest individual accolade was presented to the King by AFC President Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa at Istana Negara in Kuala Lumpur on Thursday. In a statement, AFC noted that Al-Sultan Abdullah developed an interest in football at a young age and his impact has been instrumental in raising the standards of the game in Asia. Al-Sultan Abdullah is the 15th recipient of the award and joins his late father, Al-Marhum Sultan Ahmad Shah Al-Musta'im Billah, the 2011 recipient, as the only father and son duo to be bestowed the accolade in Asian football history. And that sports item wraps up Nightline this time around. However, before we leave, let's have a quick look as an Australian skydiving team of 15 women set a sequential skydiving record with a jump at Skydive Jurien Bay, north of Perth in Western Australia. The previous record was held by a team of 12 skydivers. With that, I'm Anita Wu. Thank you for watching and good night.